Okay, these are my post-fight thoughts for the fight between Anthony Agogo and Craig Cunningham and Frankie Gavin versus Sam Eggington. Please forgive me. I'm bunged up with the flu, but I just was laying in bed and I had all these thoughts flying through my mind, so I thought I'd do it. I've called this post-fight title A Tale of Two Boxers, and I'll explain what I'm trying to allude to. Of course, four guys fought last night that I saw, but the two guys I'm going to focus in particular is Anthony Agogo and Frankie Gavin. Polar opposites, almost. Frankie Gavin, extremely talented fighter, but dedication questionable. And the weight division he fought at, welterweight, I've always thought that he should be fighting a light welterweight. I've never believed he was a genuine welterweight, but he has put on some interesting performances at welterweight. His fight against Leonard Bundu is still a standout moment. A lot of people may look at that Bundu performance and say, "Oh, well, he got found out." But then Bundu fought Keith Thurman afterwards, that everybody raves about, and Thurman can only take him to points, dropping him in the first round. And after that, Thurman was on the back foot for most of that fight. And Thurman, regardless of what you think about Thurman, he's a big, strong, powerful welterweight in comparison to Frankie Gavin. Frankie Gavin's boxing ability is pretty good. If his application outside the ring was as good as his boxing skills, Frankie Gavin, for me, would be a world champion. People say, well, how do you work that out? I said, because you look at the guy, there's some guys in the world who are not half as talented as Frankie Gavin in terms of footwork and putting punches together and shifting off to the sides that are world champions today. You look at someone like Ricky Burns, hard work and dedication. He's no fancy Dan. He's just hard work, lots of heart. He's not exactly the most skillful boxer in the world, but he just overwhelms you with work rate and will to win. And Frankie Gavin showed a lot of balls in his fight against Sam Eggington. But you think to yourself, just take a step back. Think about Frankie Gavin when he was just under Frank Warren. And before he lost to Bundu, he had that Bundu fight, before that fight. And he was knocking guys over and he was looking okay. And people say, oh, yeah, Frankie Gavin stunk the joint out. But you always thought to yourself, well, he stunk the joint out, but he could always do something get to the next level. Bearing in mind, he beat Junior Witter. Junior Witter was a two-time WBC champion. Now you see. So to me, Frankie Gavin was on the right path. But if you thought that at that point in time, there's no way you'd be thinking to yourself, fast forward in Frankie Gavin's career, thinking to yourself that he would be fighting against Sam Eggington at British level and getting beat and knocked out at British level at welterweight. You just wouldn't think it if you looked at the way Frankie Gavin was going his career up to the point. So, and it was a close decision. He lost to Bundu. So when you look at that with Frankie Gavin, you just think if he was a little bit more dedicated, and took more care of his body, who knows where Frankie Gavin could be. And I do want to make this point. Sky Sports commentary team, once again, they seem to determine when your career should be finished, when your career should be over. Oh, this is a fight. He must win. If he doesn't win this fight, then his career is over. Well, what would you say to people like on the call? Glencoff Johnson, Frank Bruno, guys who've had multiple defeats on their record and have still come back and become world champions. So Sky Sports punditry team turn around saying Frankie Gavin is all over for him. It's ridiculous. I think Frankie Gavin's got deeper issues with himself. Another thing about Frankie Gavin I noticed, he's a good lad, really nice guy. I met him. But Frankie Gavin always seemed to me like a guy who didn't truly believe in himself. And he had inner demons that he was dealing with as well, almost like a self-sabotage sort of thing about himself, that he's the kind of guy that will get an opportunity and then just blow it. He had this fight against Sam Eggington, And to me, I think Frankie Gavin's a better boxer than Sam Egginton. But I think, again, when you don't do things right, you don't come in on weight, you don't do the things in a professional manner, eventually it catches up with you. I think this is what happened with him. He kept getting hit to the body, if you notice. And Frankie kept doubling over every time he got hit to the body. So Frankie should be down at a low weight division, light welter, not welterweight. And let's see what he does there in some fights so he can build his confidence up. And, and he needs to ask himself whether he really wants to be in boxing mode, because he's got all the talent in the world. I still think Frankie Gavin can go on to be a world champion because he's got the skill set there. Because he's had a couple of losses here and there, that doesn't matter. The guys who've had more losses and have had more devastating defeats. But of course, it does look ominous getting beat at the level by Sam Egginton. Now, don't write Sam Egginton off yet, because Sam Egginton, if you look at him, he's not brilliant. He just comes marching forward. But it's a sheer will that broke down someone like Frankie Gavin. In the right night, against the right opponent, Sam Egginton, who knows where he could be going from here. Now, I'm not saying Sam Egginton's the next Margarito. I'm not going to say that. Sky Sports just like to bring comparisons. I would just say that Sam Egginton is Sam Egginton, and he had a good win. He should celebrate that. And he doubled over Frankie Gavin in very impressive style. And he did a better job, if you think about it, than Kell Brook did. And Kell Brook was hitting with monster shots. I mean, Frankie Gavin got knocked out. I mean, to the point, Frankie Gavin didn't get up. He was put through the ropes. You know, the referee came and stopped the fight against Brook. So, so Egginton's performance was pretty good. And he's a naturally big, strong welterweight against a guy who cut corners and relied on his skills to get him through a fight. There's another thing I want to say about Frankie Gavin as well. Throughout his career, Frankie Gavin looked pretty miserable. The last interview I saw him do before this fight against Egginton, he looked so bright. He seemed happy with himself. He seemed in a good spot. You just wondered yourself how this defeat's going to impact Frankie Gavin. But I believe Frankie Gavin can come back. I'd like to see Frankie Gavin get away from the UK. I always say, get away from the UK, go to the States and rebuild his career. He's had some tough fights and some bad defeats. But some of those defeats have been caused by him, his own self, and his own poor decision-making, fighting Kell Brook at welterweight. Had no business fighting Kell Brook at welterweight. Actually had no business fighting Sam Egginton at welterweight, to be honest, because he's given up so much, and he's given up so much. And he doesn't punch. He's not a world-class puncher, you see. So I think Frankie Gavin should move down to light welter and have a reevaluation of where he's going. And if he really wants it, get away from the UK, get to the States, get a nice trainer in the States that's going to look at his style and kind of put it together, put something else together with Frankie.